Scorpio, you've tried cutting the tie. You've tried turning your back, silencing your phone, deleting the messages and convincing yourself that this time it was final. You've put on all your armor, erected those towering walls that only a Scorpio knows how to build in silence, and told the mirror that the story was over. And perhaps for a few weeks, or even months, you believed it. But then, like a whisper you can't ignore, the universe moves an invisible piece, a chance encounter, a name that pops up out of nowhere in a conversation. A dream so vivid you wake up breathless, and there you are, back to square one. Why does God keep choosing this exact person to cross your path repeatedly? Why, even when you decide to give up, does a greater force seem to intervene, holding your hand and saying, "Not yet, don't give up now"? The truth is, we Scorpios have a very peculiar relationship with control. We like to believe we are the absolute masters of our emotional destiny. If something hurts us, if something threatens our peace or exposes our vulnerability in a way we can't predict, our first instinctive reaction is amputation. We cut the evil at the root. We distance ourselves. We delve into our underground world where we feel safe in the dark, untouchable. It's a brilliant survival mechanism, built over years of disappointments. But there are certain connections that don't respect our rules. There are souls that, when they collide with ours, create a spark that cannot be extinguished by a simple decree of our will. And that's exactly what's happening here. God, the universe, the creative source, whatever name you prefer to use, is breaking your safety protocol. Think about the last few times this person reappeared in your life. It was rarely during a moment of boredom. Almost always, it was during a moment of internal rupture, or when you were about to take a completely opposite direction. It's as if a spiritual gravity is pulling the two centers towards each other. And that irritates you. It deeply irritates your rational side, because you've already mapped out all the risks of this relationship. You've catalogued every wound, every misunderstanding, every cutting silence. You want logic. You want a practical reason to justify why this person keeps coming back. But the invisible mechanics of destiny don't operate on logic. They operate on transformation, and there is no sign in the zodiac more intimately linked to transformation through the other than Scorpio. What you may not have realized yet is that divine insistence is not a punishment. It's not the universe playing with your emotions. It's a call to your own rebirth. This person doesn't return to torment you. They return because they are your sharpest mirror. They reflect the parts of you that are still hidden in the shadows, the parts that still need healing, acceptance, and above all, courage. You think you're running away from the other person, but in reality, you're running away from who you become when you're with them. That level of surrender, that merging of souls, is terrifying. And that's why you run. But the divine doesn't let you go far. Each return of this person is a whispered reminder. Don't give up now, because the work you came to do together isn't finished yet. There is an invisible purpose in this repetition. It's not a karmic cycle of pain, but a spiral of evolution. Each time you meet again, you are not in the same place. The dynamic has changed. You are more mature, or perhaps just more tired of fighting against what is evident. And this weariness is sacred. It is the moment when your Scorpio resistance finally begins to yield, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. You begin to understand that you cannot control the wind, you can only adjust the sails. And the sail, in this case, is your heart. You have kept it locked away, waiting for an absolute guarantee that you will not be betrayed. But the guarantee does not exist. The only certainty is this magnetic force that keeps throwing this person into your lap. And the big question that keeps echoing in your mind in the middle of the night is not whether you should run away again. The question that really keeps you awake is, what would happen if, for the first time in my life, I simply stopped fighting against this and let myself be led? It was while searching for answers to this that I found this digital book. The divine wisdom that guides your zodiac sign to a purposeful life is not just a collection of predictions. It's a practical map for deep navigation. I know how much your Scorpio mind demands dense answers, how much you abhor superficiality. This material addresses exactly that. It teaches you to organize your mental posture, to read the invisible signs of these magnetic connections, and to stop sabotaging the plans the universe has designed for you. It doesn't give you ready-made formulas, but it gives you the cutting clarity you need to understand why certain people don't leave your destiny. You're in a state of emotional exhaustion right now, I know. You're tired of going back and forth, tired of trying to decipher why this connection won't die. That's exactly why you can't postpone it any longer. The link is pinned in the comments. The clarity you felt now doesn't have to be just a moment. It can be the beginning. Click now and continue. Since you're already reflecting on this, tell me in the comments, what was the strangest or most unexpected sign that made this person come back to your mind recently? Write it in the comments to illustrate your observation. The movement continues even when you close your eyes, and the great contradiction you carry now is the fear of destruction versus the hunger for truth. Scorpio doesn't want lukewarm love. You don't want a half-hearted story, a deal of convenience, a passion that doesn't reach the bone. You want total fusion, the spiritual alchemy that transforms two heavy metals into pure gold. And deep down in your intuition, you know that this person holds the key to this laboratory of transformations. That's why it hurts so much. That's why you try to discard them. Because their presence demands that you abandon your oldest defenses. And the Scorpio instinct for survival screams, if I surrender to this, I will lose control. But what God is trying to show you repeatedly is that Scorpio's true power is not in not feeling or in shielding oneself. True power lies in feeling everything, being traversed by the experience, and yet being reborn from one's own ashes. Don't give up now. You are on the threshold of a profound change. This cycle of separation and return is not a glitch in the matrix of your life. It is the furnace where your soul is being purified. Each time you separate, you polish your own rough edges. Each time you return, the connection is tested at a deeper level. The divine continues to choose this person for you because they are the perfect catalyst for your evolution. No one else could break through your shell. No one else would have the persistence and resonance necessary to access the incandescent core of your heart. And realizing this is frightening because it leaves you naked. Suddenly, all your rational excuses crumble, and only the pulsating truth of this inevitable encounter remains. The architecture of this connection is so complex that it defies time. You can go months without hearing her voice, and in a second, a simple glance reconnects the invisible threads as if not a single day had passed. And it's this intensity that frightens you, to the point where you almost prefer the safe emptiness to the uncontrollable fire. But the silent voice of destiny keeps pushing you. When you think about throwing in the towel, a bizarre synchronicity happens. The universe has no subtlety when it wants you to pay attention. And when the tension of this cycle reaches its peak, when you feel you have nowhere left to run from yourself, it's time to access the right tools. That's why the divine wisdom that guides your zodiac sign to a purposeful life becomes essential. This digital book is the anchor for the mind that is about to overflow. It teaches you to embrace the discomfort of transformation without losing your essence, showing the spiritual purpose behind all this intensity. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. Click. Clarity, however, is not the end of immediate pain. Clarity brings responsibility, and the responsibility that falls on your shoulders now is not to run away from your own depth. You are forged in the depths, Scorpio. You are the phoenix, the deep water, the hidden fire. And the biggest mistake you can make right now is trying to live a shallow life so you don't get burned. The universe keeps returning this person to you because they are proof that you weren't born for shallow waters. This connection is your initiation. It's the final test of your detachment from control and your surrender to blind faith in the flow of life. And I know that surrendering for you feels like a small death. But what if it's not a death? What if it's the birth you've spent your whole life waiting for? The paradox of Scorpio is that you only feel truly alive when you are falling apart and rebuilding yourselves. And this person, they are the fire that melts the old form. Don't see this return as a failure on your part to maintain the emotional block. See it as a divine calling for a work that can only be done together. God's persistence in placing you on the same path is not random. There is an invisible contract signed even before you were born. And to rescind this contract out of fear is to waste the opportunity to experience the deepest healing that the cosmos has to offer. Don't give up now, because the darkness always seems densest just before dawn. You are fighting against the very light that is trying to invade your cave. You analyze the mistakes of the past, project the fears of the future, but the present is screaming your name. This gravitational pull won't simply disappear because you decided it's too complicated. It will continue to pulse beneath the surface of your life until you have the courage to look at it and say, I accept. Accepting doesn't mean throwing yourself off a cliff without a parachute. Accepting means recognizing that there are forces greater than your pride and your need for control. When you reach this level of lucidity, of raw understanding of the role of psychic connections, you need practical knowledge to sustain this new awareness. And this is where the application of the divine wisdom that guides your zodiac sign to a purposeful life changes the game. This digital book acts as a translator of the silent will of the universe, decoding why you attract exactly the challenges you need. It helps you use your magnetic power consciously instead of becoming a hostage to it. The link is pinned in the first comment. I don't know how long this access will remain active. Click now and start seeing what was hidden from you. And so, you begin to understand that true magic lies not in avoiding chaos, but in being the calm within it. When God chooses this person repeatedly, he is, in fact, choosing you. Choosing your most authentic, courageous, and loving version. The universe is demanding that you lower your weapons and look into the eyes of what you fear most. Real, vulnerable, and raw happiness. You don't need to have all the answers today. You just need to stop running. The mystery of Scorpio is that in the end, the greatest revelation of all is that vulnerability is not a weakness. It's the indestructible bridge between you and your true essence. Trust this calling. Trust this repetition. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on what your instinct, the one that never fails, is whispering in your ear. Let the transformation happen. Let the masks fall. At the bottom of this turbulent ocean, where you've always been afraid to dive in, lies the most invaluable treasure of your journey. Embrace the tide. It knows exactly where it's taking you. And when you finally allow yourself to be carried away by this tide, something extraordinary happens. That initial feeling of suffocation, the panic that the water will invade your lungs and take your breath away, gradually transforms into a new breath. You discover that in this ocean of deep emotions, you don't drown, you evolve. The salt water washes away the scabs of wounds you pretended didn't exist. It's an intense purification process, one that stings at first, but brings true structural healing. You, who spent so much time building gigantic dams to contain the flow of your feelings, Now realize that the strength wasn't in the dam, but in the river itself. And this river, when free, has the power to sculpt mountains, nourish arid valleys, and create life where before there was only silence and the echo of fear. Looking again at that person, the one the universe insists on placing at the center of your existential chessboard, the perspective changes drastically. Before, you saw a trigger, a constant threat to your meticulously calculated stability. Now, you begin to see a mirror polished by the hand of destiny itself. Every friction, every spark of misunderstanding, every moment of inexplicable tension you shared wasn't a sign that the connection was wrong, but rather living proof that it was working perfectly for your awakening. A mirror doesn't judge, it only reflects. And this person has reflected with a precision that is almost painful all your secret insecurities, your fears of rejection, and the parts of your soul that you locked away in the dark basement of your subconscious. The discomfort you felt wasn't caused by them, but by the accumulated dust that rose each time their presence illuminated your darkest recesses. Understanding this is the true turning point in your Scorpio journey. It's the sacred moment when Pluto's energy ceases to be destructive and becomes purely regenerative. You finally stop trying to demolish the other to protect yourself and begin to deconstruct yourself to free yourself. And the pain of this deconstruction is absolutely real. Let's not romanticize the brutal process of tearing off your own metaphorical skin so that a new version can be born. It hurts to abandon the role of the ruthless, unattainable person who needs absolutely no one. It hurts to admit that you want, with every vibrant cell in your body, to live a love that consumes your most carefully crafted defenses. But be certain, this is a pain of birth, not death. It is the excruciating yet necessary pain that precedes the first cry of a completely authentic life. As you cross this dizzying bridge between the illusion of control and the glory of surrender, memories of the past begin to take on a whole new meaning. You realize that all the almost loves, all the half-lived connections, and the spectacular escapes you staged were not mistakes, but meticulous rehearsals. You were training your emotional muscles, preparing your wounded heart for the exact moment when life would demand an absolute leap of faith from you, without safety nets. And that moment, undeniably, is now. The repetition of this person in your life is the universe striking the cosmic hammer and saying, the rehearsal is over. It's time for the main performance. The divine machinery doesn't waste energy. If synchronicity continues to operate at absurd levels, if chance continues to boldly conspire to cross your paths at the most improbable corners, it's because there is an ancient spiritual contract that has not yet been fully fulfilled. A soul contract that can only be signed with the ink of naked truth and the deepest vulnerability. It's fascinating and at the same time frightening to observe how your intuition, which has always been your most precise and sharp compass, deep down always knew this. That silent voice, which you so often tried to stifle with extreme logical rationalizations and cynical excuses, was always frighteningly right. When you were physically distant, trying to move on at all costs, trying to convince your own reflection in the mirror that the page had been turned once and for all, your intuition calmly whispered, "It's not over yet. There's more story to be written." And you felt immense anger at that voice, didn't you? Anger at not having absolute and dictatorial control over what resonates in the strings of your own soul. But understand something crucial. The soul does not obey the arrogant ego. The soul strictly obeys its own nature, which is magnetic, eternal, and inevitably drawn to the pole that complements it. Surrendering to this relentless gravitational pull is not losing a humiliating battle. It is, finally, winning the exhausting war against yourself. And what will the landscape of life be like when you finally lay down your weapons of defense? It will be an existence inhabited by a colossal peace that you have never, in all your years of resistance, experienced before. An imperturbable peace that does not derive from the miraculous absence of problems, but from the liberating absence of masks. Imagine the indescribable lightness of being able to look deep into that person's eyes, and instead of frantically devising a mental strategy of attack or defense, simply let it overflow. I am here. I truly see you. And for the first time, I let you see me without filters. The real, solid and transformative intimacy, the one you always longed for in lonely nights, but always fled from in the light of day, is born precisely from this acknowledged fissure in your leaden armor. It is precisely through the places where we have been shattered that divine light can enter with greater force. And the light that now enters your being will illuminate a relationship founded not on the power game of one over the other, but on the invincible power of two walking together with completely naked souls, holding hands and with peaceful hearts. In this new and vast space of conscious existence, old fears will still try to visit you. It would be an illusion to think otherwise. The mind, chronically addicted to drawing catastrophic scenarios to ensure survival, will occasionally whisper in your ear that all this is too risky, that you might fall apart again, that disappointment is lurking stealthily around the next corner. The vital difference is that now you no longer need to invite these paranoid fears to sit at the head of your table and command the banquet of your life. You can simply watch them pass like shadows by the window of your consciousness and choose, with absolute sovereignty, not to open the door for them to enter. You have painstakingly acquired the honed wisdom to understand that the absolute guarantee of not suffering is, tragically, the irrefutable guarantee of not living. The risk inherent in love is the ticket to experiencing the true magic of human existence. And you, acting as a true and skillful alchemist of your own emotions, now know that any emotional poison can be transmuted into healing medicine, that any dizzying fall can become the aerodynamic boost for an immensely higher flight. Pluto's labyrinthine journey teaches us with relentless rigor that what lies hidden in the catacombs of being must be brought into the sunlight, not to humiliate or publicly shame us, but to be accepted and integrated in a sublime way. That thick shadow you sweated so hard to hide from the world, your denial of neediness, your intensity that frightens the weak, your visceral and overwhelming need for absolute connection, is, ironically, the root of your greatest charisma and your incomparable healing power.